Just going back to Alaska, obviously Friday night did some really good things. Third period certainly played with our identity, did exactly what we wanted to do. And, ironically, we had to win that game in overtime where I thought we played better Friday night than we did Saturday. Saturday we weren't as good, and I don't know if that's always the best thing going into a bye week, whereas you want to kind of feel that you had that consistency and that growth going into that next game. On the other side of it, though, with the bye week, it gave us a chance to work on some structure. Obviously, on a bye week early in the season, like you maybe want to do a little more conditioning, pace stuff to make sure that when we do play Friday night, we're not feeling the effects of an early bye week in the season. Yeah, I don't think we had a ton of that. Even going back to when Mel was coach, and obviously certainly Joe early, I don't necessarily recall a ton of bye weeks. Usually we're playing our non-conference and stuff like that. So like I said, you can take it any way you want in terms of like if you had a really good weekend and you're going into it, like we're still always trying to grow, still always trying to build on everything. And I think it's really important that and our guys were really focused that week. It's not like we had a bad week of practice or anything. It's just a little bit different. Like we didn't do, certainly didn't do a ton of special teams, did a little more structure, did a lot of smaller games and compete to ensure that, like I said, Friday night, we do have our legs under us to be able to play the way we want to play. For starters, I like our character. I think through and through our guys are absolutely great kids. I do think from a competitive standpoint, I think we have a lot of guys that compete. I think we have a lot of guys that, truly want to get better. Like you look at it's something as simple as even when we do skill sessions in the morning, there's multiple guys that are coming to that every single day, all the way through Wednesday. So there's guys that want to get better. That's really all you can ask for. The next level is when you're getting better and you're learning, then you're looking for that growth that transfers into games to essentially play the way that we want to play, 60 minutes every night consistently. Obviously looking at Steven, certainly a new guy, but a junior in college, so has been around a little bit. Baker, sophomore, played 9 games last year, and Elias, essentially a freshman. So I think I liked them as a line because of how they complement each other. Now, for each individual guy on that line, right, like they all bring something to that line, which as you saw a couple times early is how they can be ultimately successful. And our message with those guys, with Elias is okay, continue to play with pace, continue to kind of dictate with your legs. And then when you have the opportunity with the puck, make plays. And then Steven, it's just, we have him playing center right now, and it's, he has great hands. He can make a play. So it's get the puck in his hands more, make plays. And then Baker, great energy, great skater, hard on pucks, should be a really good forechecker. So our focus with those guys, they're doing a great job, but the next level for them, like I said, in terms of how they can dominate is consistently doing from an individual standpoint their strengths, and then when that combines, it can be a really high-end line. Like I said, Isaac's kind of one of the guys, he comes out every day and wants to get better and works, but it's really just, he's going to put the pressure and the expectation on himself. We certainly have the expectation that he will produce and stuff like that, but really it's just doing the little things right all the time. Continuing to learn the game, continuing to make plays that maybe last year he wouldn't make. Even the goal that Sardarian scored, that was a really good play from Isaac where, he went down, he was good on the forecheck, and he made a really good play to Steven, and Steven scored. Now, for me, that's growth in terms of what we're looking for from Isaac's game. The goals, we're same thing for him. Are you generating shots? Yes or no? Are you generating scoring chances? And then we kind of can work away from that and work towards that. And he's actually getting both right now. So, he could have scored. He probably wants a couple back from the Alaska series, but the reality of it is that he's trending in a direction where, from a scoring chance standpoint, that he's going to be able to score goals. When you're replacing, Moser, Kooks, LP, Arvid, I think guys kind of have to step up, right? I think that's the biggest thing. I do think that we have guys that do have some high-end talent. Gordo, Koski, Steven, you know, all those guys they're talented players. LAS is a really talented player. You know, Jack Works was a 20-point guy last year. Chase over 20 points. You know, we're seeing growth in Nick Williams. You know, Rylan Brown's a good player. Like I think our talent is there. We're obviously young, and that's going to be the thing that we're really going to have to work with is like, okay, like how can we get our young talent to grow? But like I said, if we can kind of make up, if we do feel like some of our players were older that were generating offense last year, I do think that we can make it up in other ways, like through compete, through hardness, through our identity, which at times, you know, last year I think we kind of went up and down with that. And I think the most important thing for us this year is like not necessarily to look at, you know, how skilled we are, like inside our group, but what's our identity and how do we want to play every single night? And like I said, our third period on Friday against Alaska, like now, if we can replicate that over and over, then I think we'll have a pretty good chance of being pretty good. So obviously, you know that Chris is there. They're good. Like they played really well against Notre Dame. Notre Dame had a couple power play goals against them. Obviously, they beat Vermont, so they're a good hockey team. It's going to be the same thing. It's just going to be like not necessarily worrying a ton about how they're going to be, but finding what we are, finding what we're good at, and continuing to grow on what we're good at. I think that's truly important because, like I said, we did not necessarily play that well Saturday against Alaska. They pinned their ears back. They went after us. You know, we have to learn from that. We have to be able to understand like how much we can dictate in games. And then, like I said, we can worry about any opponent we're playing, but until we truly are doing everything we can to like form our identity and like show what we are as a team, like you're kind of searching for consistency. Really, is what it is. Just even from a recruiting standpoint, like they're in a lot of videos. I think that's kind of I think back to when I played like Tim Braun without the shirt on, you know, shirtless guy right in the middle. And to me, it's all part of what makes Michigan Tech special. You know, when we talk about like, obviously a small community, but a very tight-knit community with a very hockey-centric background, and like the Misfits are such a big part of that. And like all those people would, you know, live or die Michigan Tech. And like that's, you know, you don't get that in other places, and that's kind of the thing that makes this place so special. And you know, when players are playing here, like that's what's cool to me, because that's the stuff that makes crowds big. That's the stuff that makes crowds loud, and it's fun to play here because of that. I know John really well. I think it's just the biggest thing for him was how did he get there, you know, and because he had a decent college career, but he found a way, like big guy, but he found a way to do a very tough job. And that's the thing, is like, it doesn't matter how you get there. It doesn't matter what you're going to do. It's how you do it and how far you're willing to go to get there. And I'll always have respect for John Scott because of that, because he had a tough job. But he made it because he was willing to do potentially what other guys weren't, you know, like, cause it's not like he was the most skilled guy at all, but hard, like obviously unbelievable fighter, unbelievable guy, you know, like from a culture standpoint. So my message for our guys would be like, you know, like obviously you're probably not going to be a fighter in the NHL, but like how far are you willing to go to make it? What are you willing to do to make it? And you can make it any way you want. You just have to put everything into it.